And it says we're going live, and we're live.
Hi, welcome to the StockinetteZombies. I'm Amy, also known as J-Nitma.
And I'm Megan, also known as Just Run It. And this is episode 415. Easy for me to say. Yeah, it's September. When
Yeah.
last we were chatting, it was not September.
We officially have seniors in high school,
Yes.
and I am
Yes.
very aware because we're doing portraits this afternoon.
Oh, exciting. Well, you've got one of the senior items on the list almost checked off.
Yes, and we've applied to a college. One. I would, looking back when they were going down the road of applying to the U of M, they did the Gopher application. I was like, oh man, you should have done the common application, and then we could have just submitted like 2 or 3 and been done. But now we have to go through a common application to get a couple more schools in there. But I don't know. I never had a backup, so I guess I'm not as worried, but everybody's like, oh, you should have a backup. So we're going to go ahead and have a backup.
Yeah. I think instead of backup, I'm encouraging Ellie to do aspirational.
Okay.
Instead of focus on one that you really want to go to and like one that's like aspirational, I guess, or one that you feel like more realistically you could go to, and then one that's I don't know. Anyway, fun times with our kids.
Yeah, I'm all for the applications too. Like the 3 additional schools were, so we have the U of M, there's University of Wisconsin, and then the 2 aspirational ones where we're like, okay, only like 2% of people who apply get in, but okay, we can go ahead and try if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's great. So maybe it would happen.
Yeah.
Write one of those great essays that just blows them over.
Yeah, I think the thing that was so we went to before I went to San Francisco for work. We went to like a college night in the Minneapolis Convention Center. And the thing that I thought was interesting that like was not a ploy that they did with when I was going or looking at college is were like they made like this guarantee that your child would graduate debt free. And I'm like, so everybody that gets accepted gets to graduate debt free. And I'm like, but that's really not a fair statement because I'm pretty sure they're going to turn around and say, parents, you are responsible for X amount to get your kid through college debt free. And I was like, so you're offering up to them that they won't have any debt, but then you're going to turn around to me and say, you're going to go into a lot of debt to possibly, right? To put your kid through this college that's like twice expensive as expensive as a state university. So yeah, I don't know. It was just like a very interesting. I'm like, that puts me in a really weird situation.
Right.
They're not going to give me any help, mom, because you're going to pay for, X amount. I am I?
Yeah, I look at that situation, it's like, what do they say, merit scholarships versus need scholarships. And I'm like, yeah, we're probably not going to qualify for any need scholarships. I did when I went to school, but I don't think that my kids will.
And rightly so, right? Like right. I want to make sure, I think on a lot of the applicant or a lot of the stats, they were saying, X number is the percentage of students. This is they're the first generation of college, goers that go there, right? Again, and that I fully support that, right? So, it was just kind of that statement that really was like, we're ponying you up for a lot of money here. That I was like, wait a minute, I see what you did there.
Well, and there was a lot of people, statements like that on the brochures that said that, don't let the cost deter you from applying. because we have a lot of programs to help you go. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, of course you do. Somebody in my
But yeah,
particular bracket isn't going to pay 3 times what they would at another school.
yeah, yeah. But yes, that's the season of life that you and I are in.
Yes, absolutely.
Planning for. And then I've got a second high schooler this year, so that's very
Oh,
interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. But yeah, I had a good time in San Francisco. Did not get to any yarn shops, although I did look at them. It was
hmm
just like they were, to walk it was almost as far as to take a taxi or Uber,
hmm
like as far as time wise. Sorry, same distance as well. um, yeah, San Francisco is a not a great place to get around by car. Like the people that were taking Ubers around me, I was like, it's a mile. I'm gonna walk it because I'll get there before you will. Um, but yeah, beautiful. Got to see the ran every morning because I knew my evenings would be very busy. So got to see the fog rolling in. I got to go down to Fisherman's Wharf and the ferry building on my runs. And the conference was really good as well. So
awesome.
yeah, I was sharing with Amy and I was sharing last night some photos of the LL Cool J and the Roots were kind of their closing ceremony. So it was good. Came back with a little something. So if you're hearing some nasally stuff, mostly like, yeah, I don't know, that or the kids brought something home from school, right? There was a lot of peopling going on in my family between myself and my kids. So yeah. But other than that, going great. Excited for an upcoming finished object episode. This is works in progress. I'm excited for finished objects because I've got a pile and I need to get motivated to weave in ends and do some finishing to really call them done. Yeah.
Yes, yes. My granny crochet cardigan is done, but I refuse to take finished object photos until it is woven in. And that's going to be, it could be a year-long project. I don't know. It's so many ends.
I was laughing last night about like the finishing, laughing at myself. I have that Elton that I turned into a Henley. It
Mhm.
was when we were going, I finished it when we were going, right before we were going to Costa Rica for spring break. So if you're keeping track, that was almost 3 years ago.
Okay.
Still sitting there waiting for buttons to be put on it. So I've not worn it. Still needs buttons. I got the buttons from the Twin Mountains. Like they're kind of
Oh,
like sparkly. Are they sparkly or speckly? Anyway, I've got the buttons. I just need to sew them on. So I think I need to, yeah, that'll be for the upcoming finished object episode near you as well.
okay. Put that one at the top of the list, right? Because it's been
Yeah,
3 years.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe
it
I
would just
can
be
make
nice to
a,
wear it. I've really been enjoying my like not 100% mohair, but like mohair is featured in the knit. Like they're light but warm. Like I wore this all over San Francisco because in the mornings it was chilly, but then by the time the evenings came around, I was, peeling it off. So yeah, have really been enjoying those type of knits. So again, should be should finish it so I can wear it.
for sure.
But all right, do we have any administrative? Oh goodness, it's September and self-striping drawing should have happened. Oh gosh, I will get it the first week.
Okay.
I promise one of these months.
One of these months.
But
Okay.
next week, yeah. But next we've got a couple. We've just got a couple left. But we'll do that next week. We also have the Craft Your Own Book Venture that's going on. I just got a couple of mine in. Wanted to make sure that I was A, getting things documented that I had finished, but B, also getting them in for the drawing and did some review of the entries. So make sure that you're getting your self-striping and you craft your own book venture items in. And then last but certainly not least, we've got next Friday, so a week from tomorrow on the 15th, we've got the ZKN member signups starting for ZK 2024, which is again another exciting thing that you and I get to plan for next year.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a form this year, so that's kind of exciting. We might have mentioned that before, but we've put down so entering for the KAL is in that form. So right off the gate, not that I couldn't make adjustments afterwards, but we're going to try to kick that off immediately and let you know what your team is. So just another thing that's going to shift left. It's nice.
Yeah, agreed. And then we'll be asking for less information as we go along, and less like having to, I mean, again, I enjoy the engagement, but I do feel like there is a lot that we're asking as we get closer and closer to June. Hopefully we've consolidated that and gotten it from you from the very beginning. And so there's less forms to fill out throughout. So we're trying to streamline for us and for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got any problems with that, or you're not prompted for the form, that will end up going to the email address that you signed up for, because we won't have your preferred yet. You signed up for with PayPal, so your PayPal email address, which for some people that is their preferred. For others, they have a different one. So make sure you get that filled out, or contact us if you're not prompted after you sign up. So.
Yep. Okay, well, I can go. I have 4 sitting in front of me. I have this sock I kind of pulled from Deep Stash, kind of, I don't know if I've entered my Deep Stash KAL entry yet. So these are like perfect pair. And I misunderstood a lot about how this thing works, because you can see top down, and then there's these weird little color changes that I hadn't noticed before. And then it stripes, but then you see that the heel is blue. So I'll show you on the actual sock. So the heel is blue. So I wouldn't normally have made my tops this long, but this was going to end up being a wide, weird stripe in the middle of the sock if I didn't, or in the middle of the foot. I didn't. And then it goes into matching again, and then ends with a lot of, for my longer foot, a lot of white. So there was a lot of ripping back on this thing in this beginning, because I just didn't look at the label close enough to know that, this isn't just another stripe. This is like an extra stripe. It's 2 stripes in order for that heel to be all blue. And then you come back into the striping. And plus it had this little 2, this was also in there, right? That there was only 2 of this white. And I think that was to signal that this was starting. And yeah, it's strange. I made an entire heel at the length that I thought it would be, and then realized after I got through it that the next blue stripe was getting to be really long. So yeah, I've knit at least a quarter of a sock and had to rip a quarter sock out.
Learn as you go. Yeah.
So yeah, if you have these, pay attention to the label and look at the layout of the items carefully, because again, like I just wasn't paying attention to that this was all blue. And I think if I had seen that, it would have dawned on me that that stripe was going to be bigger and it needed extra attention. But
or that the sock was signaling you to do specific parts of the sock, right?
Yeah.
Or the yarn was, yeah.
So I kicked off the next one, and it's just in the little blue cuffy part. Hopefully that matchy will be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then I have the second of my pressed flower socks on the needles.
I don't know that I saw the first.
Yeah, maybe I forgot it, or we haven't done whips in a while, but it did zoom pretty quick because it's a fun pattern. And then
Mhm.
I think I have 5 of these before the toe. So I'm getting real close to the end.
So pretty.
Yeah. So that's the pressed flowers. Again, I'm making it with hand spun and a farmer's daughter's fiber that's like the sheep to farm or farm to skein
Mhm.
kind. So it's a little bit, it's rustic like the hand spun, but still super washed or, has nylon in it or something to keep structure. I wanted to
Mhm.
make sure. But I think a lot of that stuff was that way because it was a sock club, right? So.
You mentioned that it was basically written for one circumference. Did you make any adjustments for that?
So yes, this is 64 stitches. I am normally a 72.
Okay.
All I did though, because the pattern is pretty forgiving or stretchy,
Hmm.
I did use a slightly bigger needle
Okay.
than I would normally use. So that was my only adjustment, a slightly bigger needle, and then trying it on relentlessly, just making sure that it still fit me as I went. So a little bit bigger needles, but otherwise, nice. Yeah. So if 64 is not your norm, maybe go down. If you're less than 64 as a norm, go down.
Hmm.
But I don't know what I'd do if I was an 80. Like if I was trying to make these for my husband, there might need to be put like a panel or something into the to add stitches. But
Yeah.
for now, that worked.
Very cool.
Yep. And then,
Great use of the hand spun. Yeah.
yes, yes, a lot of fun to be able to put that in there. And I believe that that particular handspun had some silk in it. So that's its structure or helping with its structure. And
Hmm.
then this is the Winter Beach. And I'm making it out of the yarn it calls for, which is a hedgehog fibers tweedy.
Hmm.
So
Oh, I love
I'm,
those pops of color in that tweed.
yes, and
Yeah.
they're super bright tweedy, right? This is threads from her yarn that got milled into. So very bright, just like her yarn.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that one's really fun and it's coming along. I'm on the front left, so I've already split. So the main body's done. And I think it's zooming along. I think as soon as I get to the sleeves, it'll be monogamous.
Yeah. Did you buy that yarn specifically for that pattern then? Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it is what was the sample, right, in the pattern. So it's basically
Mm-hmm.
a kit. I did not deviate
Hmm.
from anything
And
on
why
this.
would you when it's so great? Yeah.
Right. Why would you? Well, the yarn was so pretty, right? And
Hmm.
oh, what do I want to make with it? And so I bought a single skein to see if I would like its
Hmm.
texture, if it was a good yarn. And then when I was looking for something to make with it, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back and I'm going to make sure I have a sweater's worth.
Hmm.
So I did that. And then the last one, last but not least, is I have gotten through the hem on the watermark. This is going to be hard to see, but it's a heavily textured, oversized cardigan from Brooklyn Tweed pattern. So if you go out and you search watermark, you'll see it. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's very oversized. I think that it's a 60-inch circumference on me. And I don't even know if it's supposed to be that big. I need to review it. But yeah, I might need to draw this out onto some special to figure it out. But I was
Hmm.
switching cables from a shorter one to a longer one because I couldn't find my longer one and then I found it or whatever. So instead of looking for these little doohickeys that screw into the ends, I grabbed our little stoppers from the retreat and put them on the ends to stop the stitches from, possibly falling off of the end without the needle
Yay,
as
yay.
I'm switching. So that's fun.
Yeah.
But like I said,
Did you say what the yarn was, Amy? Is it a Brooklyn tweed as well?
oh, no, for this one I used and I substitute So for anything Brooklyn tweed, I've been substituting either the Barrett Wool Co., which is this. This is the Barrett Wool Co. worsted. So it's a little bit beefier or substantive than Brooklyn tweed, but still a very nice rustic but soft yarn. And by rustic, I just mean that woolen spun, right? It's not the smooth that is in a traditional merino that you get. So anyway. And then my other one that I use a lot is the special base from Northern Bee. So the rain.
Yeah.
So I've used that as a substitute as well. And that one is more like the Brooklyn tweed than what is from the woolen spun or Wisconsin woolen spun, yeah. So I think it's kind of a better substitution as far as weight of the fabric.
Yeah.
But that's
very
it. Those
cool.
are my 4. And
yeah.
apologies.
Did those creep in recently? I'm feeling like I knew about the socks, but the sweaters were I didn't know about the sweaters.
They were probably just babies the last time we did whips. And the watermark is definitely a new one. That one snuck in. It's been one that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I bought the yarn. So it's not deep stash, but it's deep enough. Like I think it's been marinating for like a year in my stash. So I wanted to pull that out and again get a big oversized cozy cardigan on the needles. And the other one's kind of a short cardigan. I've been quite a cardigan kick lately. Pull over, schmoll over. I want a cardigan.
You're balancing the world of knitting out with me because I'm like all in on the pullovers right now. I love a good cardigan, again, don't get me wrong, but I've just really been digging the like one piece over the head, don't have to worry about
Yeah. Well, I have, what was it? So this one is fairly recent. And then I was looking through my stash and I only have 3 other ones. I was like, that can't be right. And so I kept looking and I was like, I had a worsted weight one or DK. It was your pattern. Yeah. And then I have one that I made out of green yarn, but it's like short, it's kind of cropped and cropped sleeves as well. And then, so I might have given a lot of them away or something, but in my closet, there were only 3. And then this one, so 4 overall. And then I was like, okay, I need to rectify that. So all my queue has been cardigans.
Yeah, you've got the means and the supplies and the
right.
to do it, right? So yeah. So as I mentioned, I have a lot of FOs that need some finishing love. So I've just been like moving on to the next thing. This got cast on as part of my trip. And then I was able to work on it. And then I went like whole hog. It's the EXP, or maybe it's like Exp sweater. By I think like her tag is Santa Knits or something like that. Her first name is Susanna, and now I'm not remembering the last name. But it's a really fun. So this yarn I got this at Colorful Yarn in Denver with Shayna. This is their Olin, and again, the green is going to be very kapow. But the colorway name is Granny Smith, and the green really is kind of that Granny Smith color.
Yeah, the yellowy green, yeah.
Yeah, rather than like the neon that you're seeing here. But speaking of really, really old stash, we got, I'm saying maybe it's 10 years ago. I remember it feeling like very fancy and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but Plucky Knitter, and it was a pre-order, which was like a new process to me. Like you had to go out and you had to figure out when you did the pre-order and when it was going to ship. This is 100% cashmere. and is kind of a lace weight.
Top weight,
And it was
yeah.
before the, I think it's written up as a fingering. So this is like
Mm,
400 yards for 100 grams, right? So it's a little more substantive than a mohair, but it was before the mohair craze, right?
right.
So I had the aha moment when I was looking through my stash that I had the sweater quantity of this that I bought, that it was very fancy. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I'm like, well, this could be like a substitute for mohair as well, right? Like,
Mhm.
especially considering our Yarnaceous purchase at the ZK market, where it was like, oh, this is really soft and awesome, but it's like a mohair substitute. So this pattern was not written to have like mohair as like the background, but I kind of pivoted into it. And I'm also knitting it at a gauge that's like a lot airier, right? So this is like the lightest thing you've ever felt. I'm
Okay.
working on the sleeve here. But and again, I don't know if you'll be able to see it like yeah, last night
Yeah.
you could because I had the backlighting, but
Mhm.
like it's you can it there's maybe, yeah, see like right
I can
there.
see it.
Yeah. It's very light. You wouldn't, I will want to wear something underneath it.
Okay, gotcha.
Because you would, I don't know. You wouldn't be able to see things, but like if I were, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to
Get it.
explain. Especially since I haven't like washed or blocked it, but very fun construction, right? Like this turned neckline, and then kind of like the carbeth, right? With the shaping.
Mhm.
This is half fisherman's rib, so it's not
Mm,
reversible. It's not full, it's not full brioche. But the really
okay.
cool thing about the half fisherman's rib is basically like one of the strands is the gray strand is held to the back, and it's,
So
or it
cashmere
ends up
against
in the
your
back,
skin?
and that's the part that's against the skin. Yeah, so I've got
Yes.
like this 100% cashmere that will always be me facing, and then it really kind of makes this line of
Very nice.
super variegated pop. But yeah, like when I hold it up like this, it looks possibly small, but on it's very airy, and it
Okay.
stretches a ton. So I'm interested to see what it's going to block like. But the real selling point for me is kind of, right here, all of the interest
Mm,
up front. I really love
yeah.
this part where you end up setting those aside, and I Kitchenered them because I couldn't stand them flopping around anymore. But yeah, you Kitchener those stitches, and yeah, it's just a really interesting look. Was pointed out to me that this is pretty similar, especially with this green, to my newspaper, which was a Hohi full brioche, that had the green and then like a pop blue behind it.
Yeah,
But
there's
I
two.
think it's, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that that's in my top of my queue, the newspaper.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's because what the camera's doing with the green, but also like always a true statement that I just made a green sweater, right? It's
Yeah,
also a true
just made a
statement to say
green
just made a
something,
green
always.
brioche sweater. So yeah, yeah, very much this will end up being a different look because of some of the choices I made with Gage and yarn choices, right? Hers is very big,
Yeah.
and mine will be a little bit more fitted. I got to a point where I was like, this is already going to be very big on the underarm, and I didn't want full bat wing, so I just separated for sleeves prematurely. Like the pattern had
Mhm.
you going on for so I made some modifications where it's going to look how I want it to look, not necessarily how the design has it written up.
Mhm.
But I think that's one of the cool things about
Mhm.
being a knitter, right? You're the boss of it. You get to
Yep.
make that decision. But yes, very much in love. And I think this is going to get a lot of wear like this because it's
Mhm.
so light, but also like keeps the warmth in. So, and like impossibly like, so I had 3 skeins of this 100% cashmere. This is only the second one. And as
Oh,
you could see, I'm like almost done with I'm
yeah,
almost done with
another
it. Like
sweater.
I've got like a little bit more on the sleeve. And then this is just the second skein of this as well. So it's like stretching the yarn again, that very thin and very like ribbing-esque, super stretchy on bigger needles. The yarn is just impossibly, getting impossibly stretched. But again, that's to how light it is as well, right? It's very, very light. But yes, EXP sweater, super love it. And I'm all in on half fisherman's rib. Like I think I'm gonna make Andrea Mowry's birch possibly next and do maybe something similar, right? Like grab a mohair and it's written to be in one color, but do something similar to this because I'm loving the effect. I'm loving the against body softness, and I'm loving what it does with this super variegated. And then yeah, super like on brand for me. I've got a Musselburgh, but it didn't get much love. This is a Blue Moon Fiber Arts colorway that's doing some interesting flashing and pooling, right? So like if you were wearing the hat, it would just look like it had transitioned to something different. And then this side is completely red and gray. And then it's very heavy as well. This will be a heavy hat. And then last night I was doing some stirring of the stash for my instant crush. So I think this is going to be here's the other skein of that 100% cashmere. Not a ton of contrast on that, but you'll wait for the other two colors.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Again, this is not as neat. This is more of it's called basil. So more of a basil-y color than a neon green color, but yeah, that's going to be my instant crush, which is needle adjacent. Once I get this, I'm forcing myself to finish the sleeve because last time I had way too many sleeves to finish because I had just moved on. But yeah, I think that'll be fun. I really,
I'm still nervous. It's a lot of ball management.
Yeah. Well, the main I've got two separate skeins of, right? But yeah, we'll see. I may end up splitting each of these into two if pulling from the outside and inside becomes too much of a item, a problem. But yeah, really, again, can't say enough. I know I just said that I modified the heck out of it, but can't say enough great things about this sweater. It looks a little wonky when I hold it up, but on me, this makes a really cool, like almost raglan line, right? And it looks like kind of like our traveling sweater. Kind of almost looks like a concentric circle here, like that they're connected. So yeah, I'll have to get better photos than just holding up a
put it on a mannequin or yourself. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I'm feeling the coziness draw as well, right? Like all the sweaters, like none of the Musselburgh, none of my time is going to Musselburghs. It's like, oh, I want to make that sweater. Oh, I want to make that sweater.
Yeah, so my huge cardigans are getting a lot of love, but I'm so tantalizingly close on my pressed flowers, so that got a lot of love last night.
Yeah.
Not as much. I just didn't knit as much as I normally do over the last 3 days, but that's been getting more attention than the rest. So, because I feel like during normal times I would have had that front panel done by now. It's only 7 inches, but
yeah.
All right.
Well, I know we've overrun our time frame for you. So yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye, Uvda. All righty. I hit end and I'll let you go.